Louisiana Ragin Cajuns softball tames the LSU Tigers. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on a classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now for free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, we'll go over baseball midweek, lots of midweek action in Sunbelt. So we will do that after we talk a little softball, which we have not talked a lot of this year. The Ragin Cajuns have won their 87th straight Sunbelt series. We don't talk about that nearly enough, but they hosted the number 3 team in the nation. Certainly they were the number 4 team RPI wise, the LSU Tigers. And there is a rivalry, but it's a fun and respected rivalry, right? Like the basketball teams don't play. Baseball teams play. Basketball teams won't play, and the football teams will never play. Okay. And also, people around here know that Yvette Girard started basically both these programs. Started the Cajuns program, and I guess I technically don't know if she started the LSU program, but she certainly built it up. All right. And Beth Farina has taken over there. And Jerry Glasgow's here with the Cajuns, and they really are on the same page because I think for the last handful of years almost, they do a home and home, and it's outstanding. It's a great midweek game. Don't have to get a hotel, and it's not hard travel as long as there's no traffic on the basin, and you get good crowds. And that's exactly what they had last night at Lamson Park. It was sold out. We're not talking about, that's paid attendance and it looks like 1,500 less or 1,000 less. I'm not sure there was a seat available. Certainly, now I went to the game. I had to leave the park to go get post-practice from Mike Desimo, the Cajuns football coach, which I'll tweet out later today. May already be up by the time you see this. And I came back, and maybe a couple of seats, maybe people were still arriving because we were walking back like 6:15. Me and Kevin Foote. But the outfield, there didn't seem to be a seat available. They announced over 2,500. That's impressive. That is a big deal for a midweek game for the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. That was, it wasn't a bunch of paid tickets and people didn't show. They showed. And just the opposite of last week. In fact, walking back, I said it to Foote. I go, well, LSU's taking a 2-0 lead. He goes, already? I go, yeah, it was 2 outs, nobody on, and they rallied. Error, wild pitch. And they got a couple of runs in. Of course, Taylor Pleasant started it. She is really good. She almost made a spectacular play today, but the first baseman dropped it. They ruled it a base hit, I think, but she's fantastic for LSU. Cajuns were down 2-0. And I said, well, last week the Cajuns got on the board in the first with 2 runs and lost 4-2. And, turnabout is fair play, I guess. Cajuns, first 5 Cajuns reached to make it 2-0. And the bases were still loaded. And LSU makes a pitching change. And 2 Cajuns popped out. I appreciate wanting to be aggressive, but the relievers are in a tough spot when there's no outs and bases are loaded. You got to think they're nervous. I know LSU plays in the SEC and plays in big spots, but let's see what can happen. And when you know it, the 8-9 hitter both walked. That made it 4-2. Maya Davis with a big 2-run single made it 6-2. And for all intents and purposes, the game was over. They added a couple of solo shots from, Alexis Langeliers and Elstad. Added back-to-back shots. They tacked on another one. They actually had a shot to run rule them. but missed out on a couple of opportunities. But that's a big win for the Cajuns. Jerry Glasgow has been clamoring to try and host. Last year, they had to go to Baton Rouge and, lost in the second game of the series to LSU. So they had to, beat the loser of the other game, win that one. Then you got to beat LSU twice. They fell behind LSU in the first game and somehow won that one and came from behind Cameron Jordan. That's not right. Jordan Campbell. That's Cameron Jordan. Jordan Campbell was the one who got it done. But in this one, the Cajuns were out in front from outside of the top of the first throughout. And now the couple of times I've looked, their RPI hasn't gone up all that much. But this is a nice win for the conference because right now, the Sun Belt is looking like they could get 3 teams into the NCAA tournament. So when I was watching the game, again, we're going Warren Nolan, LSU was 4 and the Cajuns were 16. All right. Cajuns have fallen back to 15, or they've gone up to 15. They've gone up to 15. They were actually up to 14 as well after the game. We'll see when everybody else plays. I don't know if they've wrapped up yet or not on the West Coast. But the Cajuns are sitting at 15, right on that, cutoff line to host a regional. And LSU is, they're top 10, so they're probably going to host and be a national seed. What the Cajuns are looking to avoid is once again going to Baton Rouge to be in a regional without being in their own regional. And it's a really tough place to play. I'm sure they'll get a really good SEC, ACC, or Pac-12 team. But Lamson Park, when it is full, it's a really tough place to play. The other teams that are looking like they may get a shot without having to win the Sun Belt Conference tournament, Texas State is 18th in the RPI. That's solid right there. And South Alabama is 36. South Alabama on a little bit. That's the middle ground for me. That is like right on the bubble. All right, let's see who South Alabama has left. They finish up with Troy. They're at Troy. That's not easy, but that's an RPI of 51, so that'll help a little bit, especially on the road. And they do get Southern Miss with a 159 RPI at home. So they do have to take care of business and maybe win a game or two in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, and they should be in. And that's pretty neat because the baseball is going to get 3 or 4, and it looks like softball is going to get 3 or 4. Here's the only difference between the two, right? We think it's going to be the Cajuns or Coastal Carolina winning the Sun Belt Conference tournament. It could be, I guess, JMU. It could be Troy, right? You could have somebody else win the conference tournament. It would be shocking if someone else besides the Cajuns, Texas State, or South Alabama won the conference tournament. That would be shocking. All right. And so it'd be nice to see one of those, all 3 of those teams get in. And obviously, Texas State and South Alabama have lost to the Cajuns. Texas State actually beat them in that third game. You tack on a win against LSU for the Cajuns, that helps everybody involved. So nice win for the Cajuns. Really impressed with the crowd on a midweek ball game. It was mostly red. Obviously, I thought certainly some LSU fans, because plenty here in Lafayette. I thought more LSU fans would come, but they didn't. It was 95. I thought 90 to 95% all Cajuns fans. So it was a great night, great midweek ball game. So having said that, let's take a break and come back, and we'll talk about midweek baseball in the Sun Belt. All right. We will do that after I tell you about FanDuel and Lafayette Travel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And Lafayette Travel. Escape to Lafayette, Louisiana, the happiest city in America, where every visit is uniquely seasoned with unforgettable experiences. Savor world-class cuisine, including mouth-watering boudin, savory gumbo, and piping hot crawfish seasoned to perfection. Experience lively festivals that celebrate Lafayette's one-of-a-kind heritage, explore magnificent trails that lead you through our rich cultural history and breathtaking natural beauty. Discover the untouched purity of our cypress and tupelo swamps, where you can paddle past nesting birds and sunbathing alligators. Immerse yourself in the vibrant rhythms of Cajun and Zydeco music that can be heard any night of the week. Whether your passion is for the rich cultural history, the bustling culinary scene, or the distinctive blend of Cajun and Zydeco music, the happiest city in America has something for everyone. Start planning your adventure at LafayetteTravel.com/season. And remember, this weekend is Festival International. It's a lot of fun. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's go through what happened in the Sunbelt on Tuesday. Georgia Southern with a nice win over Mercer, 15-9. So some guys, 7-run. How about this ball game? A 7-run first inning for Georgia Southern, followed by a 6-run second inning from Mercer. That game took a minute. Does it say the time? It only actually took 3 hours. 24 runs, 30 hits, 3 errors. It didn't actually take all that long. Let's see. Georgia Southern, Josh Tate, 3 for 5 with 2 runs batted in. J.D. Kaiser, the DH, big ball game, 4 for 5, 3 runs scored, 2 driven in. Sean Smith, 2 for 4, 3 runs scored, 2 driven in. T.J. McKenzie, 2 for 4, 2 runs scored, 3 driven in. And Cade Parker, 3 for 4, 5 RBI and 2 driven in. The pitching not as good for Georgia Southern, giving up the 9 runs. But the Eagles do get a much needed win. All right. Georgia State hammers Alabama State 16-6. Panthers pick up a victory. They get an 8-run first inning. What's going on in the first inning? Baseball, softball, everyone is firing on all cylinders when the game gets underway. Let's see here who drove. A lot of different people drove in the runs. Actually only had, out of the 16 runs, only 12 RBI. Will Mize was 3 for 3 with a run scored. Jesse Donahoe had 2 runs driven in. Brennan Hudson, 2 for 3, 2 runs scored, 2 driven in. JoJo Jackson with 2 for 3, 2 runs scored, and 2 driven in for the Panthers. Old Dominion beats VCU 7-1. Did I see pictures of a Justin Verlander back at his old stomping grounds? That's a nice win for ODU. App State survives Eastern Tennessee 12-11 in lovely Boone, North Carolina. And this is one of those games that I guess was back and forth. App State 3 in the first, 2 in the third. East Tennessee 3 in the fourth, but App State 4 in the fourth. So it went from 5-0 to 5-3 to 9-3, 9-4, 11-4, 11-7, 11-10, 11-11, and App State wins it in the bottom half of the 12th inning. Obviously, all the pitchers wanted to get work. CJ Boyd for App State, he was 3 for 4, drove in 4 runs. He had the big ball game, but you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Mountaineers with multi-hit games. JMU, they were the only one to play a Power 5 team. They lose to Maryland 6-4. Let's see if that hurt them initially. Let's see here. Maryland with a big 5-run 4th inning, and that was the end of the scoring. I think that's the other way around. It was a big 4-run 5th inning. Excuse me. A big 4-run 5th inning that made a, 4-2 ball game, 6-4, and no more runs compared to the games we were just talking about, was a little bit of an upset. Let's check if that affected JMU at all, because they had a pretty good RPI. They did go down 4. That's a tough spot. Maryland was 42, and they went down 4. Okay. So they're 27 as of right now. Okay. All right. Still top 30 team. Still a top 30 team. All right. Elsewhere in the Sun Belt. You know what? Good time to take a break. All right. We still got Southern Miss and Tulane, Texas State Incarnate Word, Arkansas State, Central Arkansas, Little Rock, former Sun Belt foe, taking on ULM, and Coastal Carolina playing a big 2-game series out in Creighton, out against Creighton in Omaha, home of the College World Series. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll finish up our midweek recap and look ahead to Wednesday. There's a few games on Wednesday. And, of course, you can start looking ahead. There are, what do we say, at least 3 big series this weekend coming up. We will do that after I tell you about Monopoly Go and Gametime. Guys, I need all of you to listen up for this huge announcement. I've been tracking leaderboards every day, keeping my eye on the scores, putting all my heart into it, and I'm super pumped to announce I'm finally on top. That's right. Obviously, I'm talking about the hit game Monopoly Go. You've probably heard about it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly, and you can play anywhere, anytime. You explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. Charge rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. You can charge your friends rent on your iconic properties or go after their Monopoly money by pulling bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. But my favorite part is the leaderboards, where you can see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go right now for free in the App Store and Google Play. Also, Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down closer to when the first pitch is happening. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You get those last-minute priority deals, save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Flash deals save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You get those panoramic views from your seat in the app before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will have scheduled to join us this week is Tim Beck, head coach of Coastal Carolina football, and Bryant Vincent, head coach of ULM football. So, scheduled. I will say one had to reschedule, but that was because of me. So I appreciate them changing for me. All right. Although I am interviewing Tim Beck at 7:30 in the morning. Well, probably already did it by the time you saw this, but 7:30 on Wednesday morning. Yeesh. I'm up. It's no big deal. Do my own little Schultzy cast before that. So we'll be raring to go. And I get a workout in. Is that hashtag humble brag? Am I babbling? I'm babbling. Okay. Back to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Southern Miss with a win. They beat Tulane. Did I say it was 11-6? I had it, and somewhere I knocked it out. Oh, there it is. Hold on. 11-6. Southern Miss with the victory. In New Orleans, Southern Miss coming to Lafayette this weekend. Monastir had the big ball game, 4 for 6 with 4 runs batted in. In fact, it was the bottom of the order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 on the bottom of the order. Drove in 10 or 9 of the 10 RBIs. So a good job by the bottom of the order. And they got most of the hits. Gillespie, 2 base hits. Pateau, 2 base hits. Monastir, 4 base hits. And Brodus at the bottom of the order, 3 for 4 with a run batted in. So Southern Miss kind of needs to step it up. They have 2 big series coming up, the Cajuns and Coastal. And then I think it's like App and ULM. So App and ULM ain't going to help them getting an at-large burst is what I mean. Now, they may think that, I mean, if they beat, let's be honest, if they beat the Cajuns in Lafayette, and I don't know where the Coastal series is, I guess we could check that quickly. If they beat Coastal, it probably won't matter. It's at home. So that's huge. They're going to they'll be in the 30s and maybe high 30s, but they're certainly putting it in a spot to where, if right now they're like 50, let me see what happened with the win. Southern Miss was 50. Did they go? Oh, they went up to 47. All right. So if they're sitting 47, just for the sake of argument, when the Sun Belt Conference tournament starts, they're going to have to maybe win it, but certainly going to have to, get to the semis or the championship. But if they're sitting at 38 and 39 or something like that, because they took 2 out of 3 from the Cajuns and 2 out of 3 from Coastal, well, they'll probably be higher than that. So they're not going to have to do that again. That's always my train of thought when I'm talking RPI, is how to avoid having to win the conference tournament. I know Gary Gilmore said we're all trying to win the tournament. I understand that. But when Coastal Carolina is trying to win the Sun Belt Conference tournament, they're trying to win it because they want to raise a banner, not because they're trying to get into the postseason, right? That's where we're trying to get the Cajuns to be in that spot. And we'll see where JMU is, because they're not listed in at least one bracketology that we saw. All right. So Southern Miss with a nice win. We will see the Golden Eagles on Friday. All right. Let's see what else we had on tonight. You did have Little Rock taking down ULM 4-2 in Monroe. And then Creighton beats Coastal Carolina 7-3 in Omaha. Let's see if that changes where Creighton went up 3 spots. They're at 46. Wasn't Coastal at like 12? And I guess they were at 13. They dropped 1. All right, so they're down to 14. So loss does not hurt them that much. It is on the road. And so where did we say Creighton was? Thought we just saw them. So they're 46. So that's, that's a quad 1 loss. That's a quad 1 loss. All right. So it does not hurt. Obviously, a win would be more helpful. All right. One more game. Not on the, let's see if this may be easier. Not on the Sunbelt website. Let's see today's events. Let's see. That may be, nope, maybe not. Not listed. All right. Wrong way there. Let's just go to the Arkansas State website. See what Arkansas State drops a shootout to Central Arkansas 10-8. It has been, a disappointing season for Arkansas State, right? They started out so well, and It just went in the opposite direction. It just totally went in the opposite direction. So they lose 10-8 to Central Arkansas. And what did they drop to? 17. What did I see? 17, 23, and 1. Yeesh. And they started out the season like 7-8-0, something like that. So it has not been a great season for Arkansas State in baseball. And standings wise, they're 4-13 and 1. So they were 13 and 8, 13 and 9 before Sun Belt play, and whereas the Cajuns took off when they took 2 out of 3 from Arkansas State has just gone in the complete opposite direction. But they are having a heck of an offseason when it comes to basketball, and I think everything went well for spring football. We're still going to swing back and see if we can get Butch Jones on the podcast. All right, thanks so much for hopping on. We have Houston Baptist, for whatever that means, but we will. It should be Tim Beck. Cajuns playing Houston Baptist. Is that right? Oh, I got that right. Hold on. Make sure I saying that correctly. Either way, we should have the plan is to have Tim Beck on, the head coach of Coastal Carolina. A big time turnover. Houston Christian, excuse me. That's why I checked. Houston Christian. So big time turnover with no Grayson McCall there. But we will have Tim Beck on, should be Thursday's episode, and Bryant Vincent should be Friday's episode. Should be being the key. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is a Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Have a great Wednesday, everybody, and we'll see you again on Thursday.